Harambe, this one's for you. Today we're going to be reacting to the ridiculously random nature of the gorilla. I don't know about y'all. Gorillas are pretty scary, pretty goofy, but still scary. I only know of 2 gorillas, Donkey Kong and Harambe. I think that's all I need to know. Oh, and I did get a little sketch back on my new V2 remote. I might show it at the end of the video. Who knows? The link to the original video will be down in the description below. Be sure to go check it out. And let's get on to the reaction.
Oh my god.
The greatest trick Hollywood
Cheeked
ever
up.
pulled was convincing the world that gorillas were something to be scared of.
I'd still be scared of them.
Built like a practical joke. The Gorillini is the opposite of a sleeper build. They look like a flash pass to being full-time horizontal, when really gorillas are unintentionally the most unserious animals on the planet. Almost every character trait that made them feared
Yeah, I love that when they just spin around.
Adorably ridiculous when you have context. Like you've seen this picture, a gorilla beating its chest and maybe you next has to be one of the most intimidating sights in nature. The sound, though.
Oh yeah, the sound is not intimidating at all.
On bubble wrap. King Kong had you misunderstood. Only in a movie would you see this and hear the God of Thunder. It's more like someone weaponizing bubble tea in a straw. Put on a blindfold and it's not threatening anybody but Bubble Buddy, because it sounds like his family
Bubble Buddy
by firing squad. It's fitting. It was widely believed that the peg pounding was considered an act of.
Look at this chunky fellow right here. He is friend-shaped. However, I still wouldn't want to encounter this guy in the wild.
War, but newer research says that it might help gorillas avoid conflict altogether. In a study done by Edward Wright of the
It looks so silly.
Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology in Germany, it was found that the biggest, most brolic mountain gorillas actually produce the sounds with the lowest frequency. Something about larger air sacs near the larynx, but it's considered an honest signal of competitive ability, and between 2 prime apes, the one with the higher frequency flesh tap might just tap out of a fight before it happens. So the chest beating actually allows smaller gorillas to avoid a fight they'd almost certainly lose, and lets gorillas choose the best option, since bigger males tend to be the first choice for intercourse. That's going to be painfully ironic in a minute, but we'll get to that bridge. The other thing that apparently terrified early explorers into introverts was their jaw work. Gorillas have top 5 most inappropriate dental work for their profession, right up there with camels and the gelada monkey. It's almost divine intervention that a lawnmower with limbs has a stronger bite force than lions, hyenas, and even a grizzly bear. And if you watch
a lawnmower
ASMR,
with limbs,
you can literally see the muscles attached to the sagittal crest. That crest is why the gorilla has a built-in mohawk. Lucky for literally everybody, gorillas only use those vice grip jaws to crush about 40 pounds of food a day. And you'll never be more grateful for their grocery list until you watch one peel a tree like a banana. All that food would mean nothing if they didn't also have a host of gut bacteria.
so they don't eat meat? Is that what he's trying to say? I'm kind of stupid. So that's very interesting. I didn't know that. I figured they could eat maybe some little meats. Obviously, I don't think they go out of their way to hunt
Bacteria to help break it all down. But because all that bacterial work also produces gas, gorillas are almost in a perpetual state of flatulence. A troop of IBS apes break more wind than a bloated beached whale, and it's so constant that researchers occasionally track traveling families through their southbound symphony. Scientists even use a gorilla camera to gain insight into the secret society of this steroid simian. And what they found was that a well-fed family could blow a hole through the ozone layer. And out both ends. According to late gorilla expert Diane Fossey, gorillas burp as an act of goodwill and contentment. And you know, in some cultures, letting it out the attic is considered a compliment. They might as well have gotten it from a knuckle-walking cow ape. On a less audibly offensive note, gorillas have also been recorded singing while they eat. Researchers refer to it as a chorus of appreciation. It's pretty cool. Check it out.
Bit of a stretch, but who am I to judge someone singing?
Basically living in their version of a giant gingerbread house has gorilla gang singing out both ends. It's also a fact that they sing louder when eating their favorite foods like this banana tree stalk. And the funniest thing is, the lead singer is actually the silverback. Science says he uses singing, or well, more like humming, to tell the group when it's time to stop and eat. And you know the law, when silverback speaks, everyone listens, and when he sings, it's time for fixings.
He just moves so funny.
Okay, geez. It makes sense. Few things are more dominant than the lead silverback male. You know he's the one calling all the shots and making all the decisions for a troop of up to and sometimes over 30. One could say that is the peak male form. And you remember that painfully ironic thing I promised? Well, it's about that time, but before you judge me, I'm just gonna remind you that this is strictly educational.
Okay.
But I would feel weird if I didn't say this, so if you're a child, an adult with a child, or an adult who thinks they're a child, skip to this timestamp right here. Or don't.
Let's hear it.
I can't stop you, but don't let your parents blame me if you don't. Here's an ad while you consider the cost of curiosity.
What in
So,
tarnation?
fun fact about a silverback, they're the largest apes in the world, can weigh in the neighborhood of 500 pounds, and when their privates stand at attention, they're about 3/4 short of 2 inches. They don't just have the smallest waist snake of any ape, it's widely believed gorillas have the smallest member of any mammal relative to body size.
King Kong ain't got on me.
I promise you he doesn't. In fact, if we scale for size, you have a better chance at Subway of seeing a foot long than from a Giga Kong. I swear I'm not just using this for richer jokes. There's actually a reason gorillas ended up hung like a hamster.
Aw.
When you look at how all the great apes measure up, you'll, 1, end up on a list, incognito can't save you, but 2, you'll realize humans have more appendical advantages than just a long thumb.
Hey, how's it going?
Chimps
Oh my. I knew nothing was gonna pop up because it's a YouTube video, but Jesus Christ.
Bonobos and orangs are roughly about the same, but nature seemed to maliciously undercut gorillas in particular. Believe it or
Dang.
not, it's a direct reflection of how they live. Chimpanzees live in polyandrous packs where females
Is that
can
a-
mate with multiple males.
that is a
So there was
horrifying
evolutionary
looking
pressure
tail.
for them to develop heavy huevos, since the more baby batter one can produce, the better chances one
Am I stupid? Was that a tail? I'm like half dead right now.
of his little swimmers wins the race to reality, which led to chimps having a massive man purse. I feel dirty.
Well.
With humans, it's believed that earlier variants may have selected for the more groinally gifted, especially with humans being more bipedal. It'd probably be more of a factor. Eventually, that led to humans having more to flex under the waistband than just 9mm.
Bro, he's
With
gotta
gorillas,
stop with
it's
these
different.
things.
They often
I
live
just-
in harems where all the females in
That's
the group practice their
crazy.
multiplication tables with the one silverback, which means they didn't have the selective pressure of dealing with other males like chimps, or even the pressure of females having a choice like humans. Also, another theory is that a larger Nixon might have helped shovel out rival nectar. Again, something a back of silver doesn't have to worry about. It actually ties back to the chest beating. Being an absolute unit was already so much of a flex that evolution didn't have to juice their
He
stats in
tripped.
other ways. But unfortunately, it means gorillas are built like an anti-steroid ad. But also consider this, silverbacks are the embodiment of what podcast bros call an alpha male. If humans were truly meant to take cues from them, forget Snickers, we'd be packing a Skittle. And with that, I am going to power wash my search history.
Yeah.
Also,
I hope for some of y'all's sake none of y'all looked that up. I did. Please seek help.
silverbacks aren't the aggressive jocks that movies made them out to be. Turns out, they're a lot more involved in raising children than we thought. Research actually shows that if a gorilla were to lose its mother, as long as it still isn't living off her milk, they still have an equal shot at surviving. It's cause silverbacks don't give child support, they are the child support. It's
Whoa.
even been proven that gorillas are more attracted to the sensitive, child-nurturing males, and not really the aggressive bully types. Which is probably why they put up with so much disrespect, and why the father instinct might not just apply to gorillas. You might remember in
I see a lot of-
1986, a child fell into a gorilla
Oh, yeah, I
enclosure.
remember that.
Crazy how often that happens.
Okay, I say I remember that. I wasn't even born then, but I remember like seeing this. I'm not old.
And 400-pound Yumbo went over and tried to comfort the unconscious boy. Even when the boy came to and understandably panicked, instead of wilding out at the sudden disturbance, Yumbo calmly guided the other gorillas to a corner of the enclosure while first responders rescued the boy. Ironically, this was during a time the majority thought gorillas were bloodthirsty savages patrolling the underbrush of Africa. That literally
Well.
could not have been further from the truth. In fact, it led to one of the most infuriating arguments I keep letting myself get baited into. Anytime someone brings up gorilla versus grizzly, all I can think is, you don't know gorillas, and you really don't know grizzlies.
Yeah.
Forget bears, there's cases of leopards causing problems for a
Yeah, like it's obviously the grizzly.
plus-size primate, with records finding past tense gorillas with puncture wounds around the head and neck. Now,
Dang.
leopard attacks on a full-grown male are rare. But if a 150-pound big cat is a genuine threat, a 10-foot, 900-pound revenant plot
Yeah.
device would slaughter a roid monkey. And really, the more you think about it, the more disrespectful the question is. Y'all stay playing on a grizzly's body. Especially since the gorilla himself wouldn't even want that smoke. For all that bulk, they'd definitely rather run away than run evade. Imagine thinking they can match up with a grizzly.
They'd probably get
Gorillas
caught
can
too, I'd
humbled by
assume.
a change in weather. And I just love that gorillas in captivity and in the wild have no problems playing in the water. But when it falls out the sky, it's suddenly unacceptable. Also, I don't know if you've seen that corgi that gave its owner a heart attack until she realized the only victim was a
Oh my
jar of
God.
jam. Turns out gorillas might have done the same to early explorers. One could only imagine seeing the blood-soaked fangs of this behemoth up close, only to realize gorilla grills come from the tannins in their diet, and for reference, tannins are the same ingredient that makes coffee bitter. And I think that's just gorillas in a nutshell. They look like they could do an absolute number on the human population, but I could not find one verified case of a gorilla murking a person. Attempts may have
I
been
wouldn't
made,
wanna
but if you
test
watch
it.
this video, you know she basically begged for it. Plus, it's captivity. In the wild, you actively have to try to get gorilla gloves put on you. They genuinely give you every possible warning before they do. And even if you ignore the chest beat, the flashing teeth, and all the other signs a gorilla might give you, usually the most they'll ever do is bluff charge. Now, let me not be ridiculous. A gorilla could absolutely turn you into a human jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
And for all I'm talking, a bluff charge
Look at that
from a
guy.
gorilla would have
You think
my
you could
soul
take that
pump
on?
faking the higher power. But gorillas got stuck with the monster label, which means it distracted people from the fact that they're the most unserious animals on Earth. What do I mean? Well, you remember what I said about silverbacks being fathers? Well, this is how.
Hey, they seem to be better fathers than most people nowadays. You'd learn a thing or two from gorillas.
Hauko is a proud father of 4 who loves nothing more than to play with his children.
We got our boy
Problem is,
Hauko.
Sometimes his mate isn't too eager to let him rock with such a small baby, so in all of Hauko's infinite wisdom, he came up with a solution. He f***ing kidnapped her. Repeatedly.
I remember that
He did this
video.
with all his children, proving it really is a game to him. I'm sorry, you can't. You're telling me I'm supposed to be afraid of this? This is chronically unserious. But not unsurprising.
I like the way they run.
Gorillas
It's
have a
so
genuine
funny.
sense of humor. Had Marion Cooper have known, King Kong might have had a different storyline. Like Exhibit B, watch enough gorilla videos and you'll notice they have an interesting habit of grenading. As in, they'll throw something and immediately run away like Skeletor. Now you could argue it's a territorial, non-verbal way to tell humans to F off, but that goes against my narrative, so I'm gonna disregard it. Also, they've done it so many times exactly like this, it's like, how am I not supposed to see this as a prank? And if you need more proof, Coco, the sign language speaking gorilla, once tied her caretaker's shoelaces together and then signed the word chase. Now I know
What?
there's been a dispute as to whether Coco actually learned sign language or was just a master mimic that learned sign language the same way dogs learn words like sit. There's a much more nuanced conversation to be had on whether Coco was a genuine case of comprehension or just memorization and regurgitation.
Probably a
But
little bit of
that's not why
both.
I'm mentioning her here. It's because she was involved in one of the most absurd lawsuits I've ever read. In 2005, 3 female former staff members filed a lawsuit against the Gorilla Foundation because allegedly Coco was demanding that the workers flash her, and no, I do not mean with lights.
What?
According to Nancy Alperin and Kendra Keller, program director Francine Patterson told them that Coco had an obsession of the mammary variety and pressured them to expose their upper halves to the gorilla, even implying that their jobs would be in danger if they refused. They refused. And some of the quotes that will come out of this suit are almost too ridiculous to be real. And apparently Coco did not discriminate, with one man recounting a time Coco went up to him and demanded to see his human headlights, at a party no less. He didn't even say no. He said later, and according to him, Patterson put an arm around him
Later?
and basically hit him with the, do you really want to say no to her? There were other complaints like unpaid overtime, dangerous work environment, them apparently storing
Okay,
gorilla
yeah,
urine in the
that's
same
underst-
fridge they ate out of, but none as
oh,
outrageous as a
oh.
350-pound bosom bandit. Especially when you find out Patterson would switch up majorly when big-time donors came around. What do I mean? Well, apparently whenever Coco would make one of her requests in front of a possible benefactor, Patterson would just say, oh, you know, nipple sounds like people. So what she's really saying is she wants to see more people. Yeah, they should have read the verdict right there, because who even lies like that? I don't think that's how sign language works. The case was settled out of court, so I guess we'll never know. But to be fair, how would multiple people lie about something like that? It means gorillas are the only animals to be formally accused of harassment of the sensually explicit kind. But it also proves that gorillas are just like us. They can multitask and focus on 2 things at once. I mean, they only share 98% of our DNA, and for the loud minority that's gonna somehow take offense, or, you know, make it racist, because I read the comments, I challenge you to spend a day watching a gorilla and tell me it's not an impulsive human in a fursuit. Like, I bet half of y'all didn't even realize that's a gorilla walking in the background. Yeah, this was a pretty unserious video for a remarkably unserious
little
creature.
bro's throwing
The
it
point
back.
wasn't really to Disneyfy a wild animal. That's arguably as bad as turning them into monsters.
Good lord.
But there is so much more to gorillas than a fade with Godzilla or the US Army, and I kind of wanted to show that. Especially when you realize gorillas have been getting slaughtered for as long as we've known about them, for bushmeat, for trophies, pets, and sometimes just for the sport, so us calling them
Really?
dangerous is kind of wild. But I get it. Talk is cheap when it's in front of a green screen. So if this video gets 200,000 likes, I will meet a gorilla in
Look at that
person
little guy.
somewhere. Or an orangutan, and that works too. But until then, drink water, hug your mother, never smile at a gorilla. Fun fact, clearing your throat sends a much better message. And I'ma see y'all in the next one.
All right. Her reflection.
Oh, that's a good shot. She's looking like dead at it.
That's very wholesome. On another note, this thing right above me is absolutely terrifying. I don't know what that is. I don't like it. But did y'all's opinions on gorillas change? Were they negative? Were they positive? Did you already know all this stuff? I think they're just silly guys. I'm not gonna mess with them, but I think they're see them in a much better light. I mean, once you know about chimps and those guys and how morbid and horrifying those are, yeah, then I think you'll have a new appreciation for gorillas. Plus, they're better fathers than some people nowadays. So there's that. Yeah, that was the ridiculously random nature of the gorilla. I'm probably going to go to bed, take a nap, do something. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate all the support. I will talk to you guys later.